Wow, welcome to the TheGTruth. We have a lot to cover today. I have 5 topics, yes, 5 instead of the usual 3. I have Jalen Ramsey being traded to the Rams from the Jaguars. I have MLB postseason discussing the baseballs, whether they're de-juiced or not. I have my top of the line segment going over the spreads, my predictions for those. Another division to talk about in the NBA, which is the 4th one that I'm going to be talking about. And a very interesting subject that came up this past week in the NBA regarding sleep. But before I can get into that, I'm going to talk about a story that I read on ESPN as well as an artist I was listening to. So let's start off with the story that I read. It was by Mina Kimes. It was actually the ESPN cover story on DeAndre Hopkins and his mother. And I read it this morning, it is packed, it is intense, it's a lot to take in, but it's very inspirational, very riveting, so I recommend reading it. I definitely cannot go over in detail or summarize it as well as Mina Kimes did, so definitely go check it out, but it's gut-wrenching, it's a tearjerker, it's powerful. So definitely go read it. Now, before I get into the Jalen Ramsey trade again, an artist I was listening to a lot within the 3-band roulette wheel for this past week. So the first one was The Wallows. The second one is called The Neighborhood. So I've been listening to 5 of their songs. Now for The Neighborhood, they aren't really the most vocally sound or great, but these 5 songs I found to be really, really good, even though some other songs of theirs aren't really that great, I would say. So the 5 are, I'm going to start off with the classic Sweater Weather, really good. In that same album that it came out in, there's Afraid. I really like that one also. And then in another album, 3 songs that I really liked were Daddy Issues, R.I.P. to My Youth, and Crybaby. I like those 3 along with Sweater Weather and Afraid. Really liked it. And yeah, so that's the second artist / band that I've been listening to alongside The Wallows, and the third one will come up next time. Well, basically next episode, next time. Alright, so now that allows me to go into talking about Jalen Ramsey and the trade that went down. Alright. The Jaguars got 2 first-round picks. First-round pick in 2020 and 2021, along with a 4th-round pick in 2021. So that's 2 firsts and 1 fourth. The Rams, on the other hand, got Jalen Ramsey. Now, when I first saw this on my phone, I was ecstatic. I was like, wow, it actually happened. It finally happened. The Jaguars pulled the trigger, and the Rams really only got rid of Marcus Peters because A, he wasn't cutting it for them, and they really wanted Jalen Ramsey. But then after I settled down and kind of started thinking about it a bit more, I started thinking, I really like this move for the Jaguars more than I like it for the Los Angeles Rams. And let me tell you why. I like it for the Jaguars, not for the Rams. I like it for the Jaguars because they're basically reloading their draft picks here. I think that they're set on Gardner Minshew as their future quarterback. He's young. He can get it done. And these draft picks for the future help them put pieces around Gardner Minshew on the offensive side, as well as on the defensive side, that want to be there and are young, that can grow with them. And at the same time, they unload a piece in Jalen Ramsey. As good as he is, he wasn't playing for them, so he wasn't being productive for them or helping them in any such way. And at some point, getting rid of that disturbance in the locker room does ease tension up, and it does go a long way to helping out the franchise. In this way, it did help with draft picks that can turn into future really, really good players for the Jaguars alongside Gardner Minshew. Now for the Rams, I didn't really like it. Yes, they got Jalen Ramsey. Yes. But I don't like it for a couple of reasons. First of which is that if they don't make a trade for a first-round pick from now until 2021, until the 2021 draft in the NFL, they'll go 5 years without a first-round pick. And what that tells me is that they're putting all their eggs into one basket. That basket being Jared Goff and Sean McVay. More so, Jared Goff. And to me, that's very troubling and worrying because have you seen their offense this year? It's been struggling. As good as the Niners' defense is, putting up 7 points against them, the Rams had their opportunities to put up more. They simply did. It's troubling to me for that reason also. And also, yes, Ramsey can help you on the defensive end, on the defensive side. Pairing him up with Aaron Donald, it seems like a dream. But like I said, the offense is struggling. It needs immediate tending to. And I know they have all the pieces there, and it's just a matter of figuring it out. But by giving up those picks, you pretty much locked yourself in to Jared Goff as your quarterback. You have eliminated the ability to have a plan B, to have a plan C, to have an out from him as your quarterback in case anything goes astray. You have taken away your out. So now you're basically stuck with Jared Goff. And if it works out, that's great. If they get to another Super Bowl and they win that Super Bowl, that's great. But the way the season's looking like right now with the offense struggling, I don't like it for the Rams for that reason. They eliminated their out from Jared Goff. Alright, now moving on to the MLB postseason, which I've really enjoyed. I've liked not so much the high-scoring blowout games the Nationals have put on the St. Louis Cardinals, because those have been, you can watch it for an inning, and then after that, it's done. It's pretty much done. But this Astros and Yankees series has been pretty good. As well as the Dodgers and Nationals series, that was really good. Until, of course, I made a video on it. They put it in Clayton Kershaw, and everything went down the drain for the Dodgers. But I'm going to be talking about the in quotation, the de-juiced baseballs. So this past season, in the MLB, during the regular season, there was a record number of home runs hit, which brought about the thought among fans, among viewers, basically anyone, commentators, that the balls were juiced, in quotation marks, juiced. That they were altered in some way to make home runs more likely. However, now, in the postseason, there has been visually and statistically less home runs hit. And some hits that seem like they're going to go out of the ballpark, like they're going to be going way over the fences, don't. The St. Louis Cardinals manager Mike Shildt noted this as well, saying that the balls are traveling 4.5 feet less according to the St. Louis Cardinals analytics staff. 4.5 feet less. And then Rob Arthur, a data scientist, piled onto that and saying that these baseballs, that there is a 1 in a million chance, his words, that these are not the same baseballs that were used during the regular season due to the drag coefficient that he calculated out. And of course, the MLB denied that there was a de-juiced baseball. Because of all these different things that we've been seeing, less home runs hits that seem like they should be home runs aren't going over the fences. Mike Shildt pointing out that they're going less feet than they would be or should be. And Rob Arthur, a data scientist, saying that the drag coefficient is not the same as it was during the regular season, therefore probably not the same baseball, led to the idea of the de-juice baseball, which the MLB, of course, shut down, saying, no, these are the exact same baseballs. But to me, are they de-juiced? Are they not? Are they the same? Were those baseballs in the regular season juiced in general? Or were they just normal and it was just an absurd season? To me, it does not matter to me, because I am loving this postseason. I'm loving it. And I think that, for me, I would actually like this de-juice baseball for the postseason, because it makes those home run moments all the more better. That's the first reason why. It makes all those home runs more memorable and just better to watch. Yes, the Houston Astros versus the LA Dodgers World Series a couple of years back, it was great, because all these home runs were being hit. But guess what? You can't remember all those home runs. You can't remember some of them. You probably remember some of them, but not the ones that were hit by, say, Justin Turner or Chris Bellinger or Jose Altuve. They all get mushed in, and it's like, oh no, it was a very home run heavy World Series. But guess what? It came down to, in the end, not who hit the most home runs, but who could get on base and get the runner in via hits, singles, doubles, maybe a triple. That's what determined it. Looking back on the great home runs during the World Series, David Freese, or Freezy, I don't know how to say it, David Freese, with the St. Louis Cardinals, walk-off home run, bottom of the 11th, in the World Series against the Texas Rangers. You think the Rangers were complaining about some de-juice baseball? No, it was just a great home run. And it made that moment so much better, because there were not home runs going left and right that whole series or game. It made it that much more memorable. There was a walk-off. Kirk Gibson's home run in the World Series against the Oakland A's. It is probably one of the greatest home runs ever hit, and it's memorable. You probably don't even remember that the Dodgers won that series 4-1, but you remember Kirk Gibson walking up to the plate as a pinch hitter, both legs injured, and getting to a 3-2 count, hitting foul ball after foul ball, runner stealing a base, 2 outs, full count, bam, home run. As soon as he sees it start going and he realizes that's a home run, puts his fist in the air, starts rounding the bases, passes second base, starts pumping his fist. That's what you remember. It makes it more memorable. This year, this postseason, Nationals against Dodgers, Howie Kendrick's grand slam. You'd think if they were popping off home runs that whole game, that grand slam would have been insane. It would have been special for sure as a walk-off. It would have been spectacular because it's a grand slam. But it would not have had that same power, memorability, as if the game was filled with home runs. But then also you have these games that are more down to the wire because you have less runs hit. It makes it more intense. It makes you stick around more, want to keep on watching, rather than what we saw with the Nationals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Yes, they didn't hit a whole bunch of home runs, but even though it was very high scoring, it was riveting for that little bit. But if there were home runs being hit by the Nationals that whole time, you would have been, nope, not watching that. If the Astros and Yankees kept on hitting home runs, you'd be, nope, I'm done. But now that there's singles, doubles, great pitching, leaving runners on bases, lower scores, especially in the Astros and Yankees series, makes it all the more interesting. Really puts the game up for grabs. And also, ultimately, this is how the postseason has been for a long time. in postseason, yes, you have home runs. But guess what? When it comes to postseason time, home runs usually aren't hit that often. It's a lot more singles, doubles, very few triples, very few home runs. It's about getting players on base and trying to bat them in, leaving no runner on base. And that's what I said in my prediction video, even though I got the Dodgers part completely wrong. I said that that's how the postseason goes. Late game hitting, not home runs, hitting in general, and late game hitting specifically, win you games. Because the postseason is not about home runs, it's about pitching and good hitting. Not slugging, not going for the fences, but just general hitting. And so I love that the balls are de-juiced. I love it. Because that's what the postseason is all about. I don't want to see 20 home runs hit within a series. I frankly don't. I want to see a tough, competitive, tight series. The Houston Astros and the LA Dodgers series was an anomaly in the home runs hit and the entertainment because they kept on going back and forth. Now, if that happens, that's great. But the likelihood of that happening, not likely. So, I love that the way that the MLB postseason is going. I have no problem with the de-juiced baseball theory that's put out there, and it's not a big deal to me about whether the baseball's de-juiced or if it's normal or if it's juiced still. I just like the way that the postseason is going right now, and that's final. Alright, before I head into break, I want to talk about my prediction for this weekend actually, in the NFL. So, again, this segment's going to be top of the line. I have 5 games that I have before me, and my predictions for each of them regarding the spread. Not who's winning so much, but regarding the spread. So, let's jump right into it. The first game that I have on my top of the line segment is the Cardinals versus the Giants. Now, the spread's at 3. But I'm going to take the Cardinals plus 3 right here. I mean, the Cardinals have, for the past 2 weeks, 2-game winning streak. They have an offensive high. They've scored 30 plus in both of the games, with Kyler Murray leading the charge. And on the other side, the Giants are doing the exact opposite. They haven't been playing great. They have barely double-digit scores on their end. Maybe Saquon coming back this week changes that a bit with Daniel Jones and the Giants' offense in general. Maybe they get a little spark. Maybe it gives Daniel Jones a little more option and ability to do something else. But that does not really change the way that Arizona is going to play on the offensive end. And in the end, if the Giants do win, I think Arizona makes it close anyways, but I'm saying Arizona probably wins outright because of how well their offense has been playing on a consistent basis, whereas the Giants have been struggling to muster points at all. So I have the Cardinals plus 3. The second game, it's a bit more risky. The Dolphins versus the Bills. And I know, you're like, the Dolphins, come on. The Bills, they're 4-1, come on. But I'm taking the Dolphins here, actually. Not to win the game, because that would be ridiculous. But for the spread. The spread is plus 17. And I know, it's difficult to make this argument. It is difficult, because you have the Bills who have a really, really good defense, and have decent quarterback play with Josh Allen. But like I said before, I'm not betting on the Bills to lose to the Dolphins. I'm just betting on the Bills to not put up the points, to completely leave the Dolphins in the dust, to put them away, to pull away score-wise from the Dolphins. And with news that Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting for the Miami Dolphins, and he has a career record 3-2 against the Buffalo Bills in his career. I'm just saying that him starting for the Dolphins, aside from Josh Rosen, gives the Dolphins a chance to make it close. Not to win, but just to make it close, within 17 points. They're going to score. They've only been shut out once against the Patriots. Aside from that, they've put up some points, barely reaching double digits. But the Bills have also struggled scoring. Therefore, I think it's going to be a bit closer than 17 points. Just a bit. It's going to be a close one, though. The third game I have is the Ravens versus the Seahawks. The Ravens have had unconvincing wins these past 2 weeks, put them at 4-2 and have the lead of the division. Those 2 wins came against the Bengals and the Steelers, and they were unnecessarily close. Against the Bengals and the Steelers, it should not be that close. Yes, the Bengals scored a late touchdown to make the score closer than it really was, but the score does indicate that the game was pretty close. It's not one of those ones where, the score is close, but the game really showed that it was far apart. No, it wasn't one of those ones. It was, these 2 teams were really close for a long time until the Ravens pulled away a little bit later, and then the Bengals got a meaningless touchdown at the end. Whereas the Seahawks, they've been winning through some tough games. They've been nail-biters, for sure, but they've been winning them. And I think that for this one, it comes down to a quarterback matchup between Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson. As good as that Ravens defense is, it hasn't been playing superbly this year. And I think that even if it has been, Russell Wilson is playing out of his mind. 14 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's been MVP talk, insane. So give me Russell Wilson and the Seahawks minus 3.5. They're taking that one easy. Fourth game, Saints, Bears. I have the Saints plus 3.5. I don't know why, for back-to-back games, away games, last week against the Jaguars and this week against the Chicago Bears, I don't know why the spread does not like the Saints. I really don't. I'm not sure if it's a lack of trust in Teddy Bridgewater or if it's because Alvin Kamara was questionable last week and is questionable again going into this week. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's, I don't know what's going on with Kamara, and I don't believe in Teddy Bridgewater. But I believe in Teddy Bridgewater. And it really comes down to 2 things. Defense and the quarterback. Defense and quarterback. The Saints defense and the Bears defense are really good. Of course, we know the Bears defense is better. The Saints defense is really good and can do a very, very good job against Mitchell Trubisky. And when you look at the quarterback matchup, Teddy Bridgewater versus Mitchell Trubisky, becomes pretty clear who's going to win this matchup. It's pretty clear. I'm going to take Teddy Bridgewater and the Saints plus 3.5 against the Chicago Bears this weekend. The 5th matchup, like always, that's reserved for Sunday Night Football. This Sunday night, it's a battle for the NFC East division between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. The spread's at 3. I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 3. I know. They lost against the New York Jets. I know. And that was horrible. There's really no excuse for that. It was bad. But I will say, with the Cowboys being on a 3-game skid, nothing can wake them up more than the Philadelphia head coach, saying, "Oh, we guarantee a win," and then of course he backpedaled on that, but guaranteeing a win, so that fires up the Cowboys right away, as well as in general just a division game for being the division leader, actually. But then also this game comes down to two things. The the defense. That's one. Just like the Saints and Bears, comes down to two things. Bears, defense, not Bears, defense, and the quarterbacks. For the defense, Dallas is better than the Eagles. I think we can all agree there. The Eagles secondary has been horrible. Got torched by the Vikings last week. Horrible. Dallas, on the other hand, defensively, they've been alright this season. They have not lived up to the expectations that they set last season, but they're alright. They won't get torched this game, I believe. And when we move on to the second part of this, the second big thing, which is the quarterbacks between Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. I'm not saying Carson Wentz is worse than Dak Prescott, or Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz, or that he's more talented or more skilled. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just going to look at the numbers, at the trend, at the statistics. And when it comes down to Sunday Night Football, when the lights are brightest, not Monday night, not Thursday night, Sunday Night Football, Dak Prescott is 5-3. 5-3. Carson Wentz is 1-4. 1-4. That is, by comparison, you say, give me Dak. Give me Dak Prescott against Carson Wentz in Sunday Night Football. 5-3 for Dak Prescott, 1-4 for Carson Wentz. In the records against the other team, Dak Prescott is 4-2 against the Eagles. Carson Wentz is 2-3 against the Cowboys. I don't know if you want more. This is clear as day. The defense goes to the Cowboys. Dak Prescott has performed well, and the Cowboys generally have performed well Sunday Night Football, especially against the Eagles. Whereas Carson Wentz, not so much during Sunday Night Football. So I'm taking the Cowboys -3. And if they don't get this, they're in a lot of trouble. Alright, I'm going to head into my break. After my break, I'm going to have the Southwest Division in the NBA, as well as my thoughts on the article regarding sleep in the NBA as well. So I'll be right back. Stay tuned. Now I gotta talk about the Southwest Division of the NBA. And let's start with Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets added Russell Westbrook and at the expense of Chris Paul. I think that for the Rockets, this season is going to be very, very turbulent, very up and down. Honestly, I want to see it succeed. I want to see them win a championship. I want to see them ball out. I want to see them really have that chemistry that they once had in OKC at their time with the Thunder. But I honestly don't think that it will pan out that way. It's going to be nice for now. They have that little chemistry going, where they're ignoring the flaws of each other, they're ignoring the usage rate, all that stuff. Poor shot selection, stuff like that. And they're just balling. They're just hooping. But when the game matters most, because it will happen this season, when the game matters the most, a shot has to be made, a pass needs to be made, there will be arguments. And that happens for every team. But I think it's going to be much worse for the Rockets. Because everything this season is going to be about redoing that chemistry. Not only between James Harden and Russell Westbrook from their time in Oklahoma with Oklahoma City Thunder, but for that whole team. Because now you're reworking everything that you put together with Chris Paul. You have to redo it because now you have to make sure that guys are okay with not getting the ball that much, maybe ever that whole game. Because as much as Russell Westbrook and James Harden will lead the league in assists or points or something like that, players are not going to get the ball as much. They're not. And so you got to redo that whole chemistry between Russell Westbrook and the team, Harden and the team, D'Antoni and the team, to make sure that the players are okay with it. And I'm telling you, when something goes down in a game, when it comes down to a clutch shot and nothing happens, there's gonna be arguments. There will be. And I think that in general, for the Houston Rockets, yes, they'll go to the playoffs. But I think internally, we're going to see what could have gone wrong in Golden State with KD there. Because Golden State did it beautifully. Everything was kept inside. KD, although he may not have liked everything, Steph, Draymond, Clay did what they could, along with Steve Kerr. The whole organization, actually, did what they could to make KD feel at home, whether he felt at home or not. They did what they could. Now, I think it's going to be something like that, but probably not the same outcome with Russell Westbrook. But they should be fun to watch and very interesting to watch, and we'll see if it implodes like I'm saying it will, or if I'm going to be wrong and that it works out smoothly and they win a championship this year or maybe next year. I really want that to happen. I really want to see Russell Westbrook, James Harden win a championship. I really do. But I really don't think it's going to happen. Moving on to the San Antonio Spurs. They're getting to the biggest thing for them really is getting DeJounte Murray. I can actually say his name. DeJounte Murray back, fully healthy, which provides a better defense for that team alongside DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. They kept their main core together with Patty Mills, DeJounte Murray, DeRozan, Aldridge, Rudy Gay. I think that they're going to go back to the playoffs like usual for the San Antonio Spurs. There's really not much else to say for the San Antonio Spurs. Actually, fact check if they have Rudy Gay still. I'm not sure, but nevertheless, they're going to say the same. They're going to get better defensively, but they're still going to the playoffs. It's still going to be the Spurs. Their playoff streak is not going to end this season. So, no need to worry there. Third team to cover is the Memphis Grizzlies. They don't have Mike Conley because they traded him to the Utah Jazz, but they did get Ja Morant to replace him. And I think that just like what I was talking about with the Knicks, it's all about getting Ja Morant, their rookie, comfortable. It's all about getting him comfortable. And just like the Knicks with RJ Barrett and Julius Randle and forming that duo together, getting that chemistry up, like I think they should do. I think the Grizzlies are going to do their own thing, but with Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. So they're not going to be a playoff team. They're still rebuilding, but that chemistry needs to develop this season. So going forward, they can look really, really good. Fourth team, New Orleans Pelicans. I think that the Pelicans, even with rookie Zion, have a strong shot at making the playoffs. I really think they do. And I know that's not a hot take. I know a lot of people believe that too, and a lot of people think otherwise. But I think that they have a strong chance of making the playoffs, and especially with their change from last season, which was different offense, to a more fast-paced offense with Lonzo Ball. You have Zion flying down the court. You have other ex-Laker players like Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and then also you have Drew Holiday at the helm of all of this to really make sure that the young ones know what they're doing and to really keep the boat smooth sailing. And I think it should work out fine. It's going to be really fun to watch. If they make the playoffs, that's great for them. It really plus some playoff experience really makes the young people like Lonzo Ball and the other Lakers, Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart, believe in themselves after being crushed by the Lakers and being thrown away in a trade. And I think it's also a good playoff experience for Zion and a big confidence boost as long as it does not go to his head. So I think it should be really, really fun to watch the New Orleans Pelicans this upcoming season. And maybe they make the playoffs, maybe they don't. Either way, they are set for the future. The last team to talk about is the Dallas Mavericks. And for them, it's interesting. Again, just like the New Orleans Pelicans, I think they have a strong chance of making the playoffs. But depends on Kristaps Porzingis, because their roster outside of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis is all right. I would have liked if they had DeAndre Jordan there, but he went to the Knicks. Not to the Knicks, to the Nets. There you go. And I just think overall that roster outside of those two star players is mediocre at best. But the reason why I say it all depends on Porzingis on making the playoffs, not Luka, is because Porzingis has been getting hurt on a regular basis. If he can stay healthy, this team is a playoff team. But if he gets hurt for even a bit, it's hard for me to say that the Mavericks are going to the playoffs with Luka doing everything and Porzingis not being there. It's very tough for me to say that. So I think that the Mavericks do have a strong chance of making the playoffs, but it depends on Porzingis being healthy and being there. Okay. Now for the big topic of this episode, sleep and sports. Alright, this one's a doozy. Earlier this week, there's an article published on ESPN by Baxter Holmes. And in this article, he talked about sleep in the NBA. And he had several NBA players on there that talked about their experience in the NBA regarding sleep. You have LeBron James, you have Tobias Harris, you have Hassan Whiteside, a whole number of different players. And reading that article through the lens of an athlete, it's haunting. But even if you're not an athlete, if you just read the article, and I'll leave it down below, it still is haunting. Because there are ways that you can connect it to yourself. If you have a job outside of athletics, you're not, a professional or amateur athlete. You're a computer programmer. You're a software engineer. You're some other job. You're still probably working from home past your regular 9 to 5 hours. Or if you work 2 jobs, you probably don't ever get sleep. If you're a night worker, you probably get no sleep either. And so, reading this article, and I've had my own troubles with sleep, it really puts things into perspective, but also is more of a warning sign about what sleep deprivation does, and what it is, really. I looked this up also. It was from the, National Sleep Foundation. I think that's what it was called. And it said that people from 18 to 64 years old should get between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I know that I'm 18. A couple weeks ago, I was 17. And for 17, it's, I think it's still 7 to, it might be 7 to 10. But I know I didn't get that much sleep at all. And I know at 18, I have not been getting that much sleep at all. oh, I tried last night and it was really good because I got I got 8.5 hours of sleep, and it was really good. But it needs to happen on a more consistent basis. Now, for athletes, because they need to recover from games, from exercise, from their muscles tearing and trying to heal from the wear and tear of their muscles, they need more sleep for recovery, recommended at 8 to 10 hours of sleep. But they don't get it. The average NBA player gets 5 hours of sleep. The average for NBA players is 5 hours of sleep. That is far below the 8 to 10 hours needed for recovery for a professional athlete. And by not getting that amount of sleep, they risk injury, and on the lighter level, just playing worse. Playing worse and higher risk of injury because of lack of sleep. It's a silent killer, as the article mentioned. But then also the NBA schedule does not help these players get more sleep at all. They have back-to-back games. Their schedule goes, they finish the game, they clean up for media, they get on the bus where they can maybe take a nap, they check in, no, they get on, after getting on the bus, they get on the plane, they check in and out at the hotel that they're staying at, they sleep, maybe, then they get up for early practice, game plan, shoot around, film, eating, whatever. Then they go back to sleep, taking a quick nap before the game, and then play a game, and they redo that whole schedule. And even on off days, because that was for a back-to-back schedule, even for off days, they still have to get up early to game plan, film, eat, practice, shoot around, all that stuff. And even when they're on the team bus, even when they're on the plane to and from stadiums, where they take naps, this doesn't help. Because for that sleep, for that 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and if you're a non-athlete, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you need it all at once. All at once. Because those naps only do so much, and those naps mess up your circadian rhythms. The article explains it a bit more. The article explains it a bit more than I'm explaining it, but the naps don't really help. The biggest statement that stood out to me from that article was from Dr. Matthew Walker, and he said, based on about 10,000 empirical scientific studies, the number of people who can survive on 6 hours of sleep or less without showing any impairment, without showing any impairment, keyword right there, rounded to a whole number, is 0. 0 people can survive on 6 hours of sleep or less without any impairment. So now it brings about the question, what can the NBA do? They've already reduced back-to-back games. They've eliminated the horrendous 4 games in 5 days stretch. They're moving to less games at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And they have more rest days. They've elongated the season. So what's the next step? I think that the next step is what has been called for a long time, which is less games. So no more 82 games, just less than that. And make those games more spread out. Give these players time to rest, to sleep, because they get into their hotel on back-to-back games at 3 in the morning. And they can only sleep for so long before they have to wake up, eat breakfast or lunch, and start practicing and get ready for the next game. So that's what I think the NBA has to do. That's the next step. Reduce the amount of games from 82 to some other number and spread out the amount of games. And now if you think that this is just a load of crap, if you think that this does not apply to you, this sleep does not apply to you because you somehow get 10 hours, 9 hours of sleep every single night and you're flying like an angel, then congratulations. But put yourself into these players' shoes. Or if you feel that you do something similar at your work, where you work a 9 to 5 job and then you have to do work at home. I know my mom has to. That she has to continue doing work at home, finish a project, whatnot. If you're a person who has to work 2 jobs and you're saying, these guys are making millions of dollars and their complaint is sleep, I'm making X amount of money and I'm getting 0 sleep. First of all, I sympathize with you. But at the same time, you know what it's like not having sleep. And I'm pretty sure that you would like more sleep. I'm sure that you would like your job to pay you more and you to be able to have more time to sleep. And that's exactly what these NBA players want. Money is not a part of it. It's about just human survival. What a human needs. That's literally what this is. And again, if you don't fulfill any of those and you just don't care and you're saying, oh, those NBA players are just babies and stuff like that, I would say try putting your body on the line with 5 hours of sleep, running up and down the basketball court with people saying that you suck and that you don't belong in the league, that you're no good, or even on occasion yelling racial slurs. It'll get to you at some point. It will. On 5 hours of sleep or less, it'll get to you. And in the end, as Tobias Harris said in the article, and I'm going to reword it just a bit because he said in the future tense, but I'm going to say it's present tense now. Sleep deprivation is an issue that needs to be talked about now. So that'll do it for today's podcast, today's episode. We went over the Ramsey trade, the baseballs, and MLB, my top of the line spread predictions for this upcoming weekend in the NFL, the Southwest Division in the NBA, and sleep deprivation in the NBA as well. I thought this episode went pretty well. Should be really good. And that's about it for this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. All I ask is just share this podcast with your friends, family, relatives, whoever. Enemies, friends, whoever, really. Just get it out there. Anyways, thank you for listening. See you next time on TheGTruth. Peace out.